I, 29, female, had the best day ever a couple of weeks ago when I married Fred, 30, male, but it did not go down quite as I expected. My sister Zoe, 25, female, thought it would be a good idea to make my wedding a competition between us. Now, things are a mess for her. Everything is falling apart and she's blaming me for it. Let me start from the beginning. Zoe and I could not be more different if we tried. As the older sibling, I was the one who played it safe, always following the rules, hitting the books, and trying to make our parents, Martin and Helen, 58 male and 58 female, proud. I was not flawless, but I definitely put in the work to do things the way I thought they should be done. The extra responsibility of being the oldest did not bother me at all. I actually enjoyed it. I took pride in being the reliable one that our parents could lean on. Zoe, on the other hand, was the favorite, the golden child. Ever since she came into the world, it seemed like everyone's attention was on her. She had this bubbly personality, was super charismatic, and just had a way of charming everyone around her, while I had to put in a lot of effort to get noticed. Zoe just shone. People could not help but be attracted to her, and our parents were totally smitten. Growing up, it was not that my parents completely overlooked me, but the way they treated us definitely stood out. I had come home with a great report card and they would say, "Nice work, sweetie, keep it going." But when Zoe aced just one test, it was like she had achieved something monumental. They would call our grandparents, throw a big dinner, and celebrate like crazy. If she landed a lead role in a school play, our parents would invite the whole family to come see. Meanwhile, if I did something similar, it was a much more low-key event. As we grew up, our differences really stood out. I was more of a quiet, practical type, while Zoe was always the center of attention at every gathering. She had this amazing ability to make everyone feel special, which definitely made her popular. She thrived on being in the spotlight and knew exactly how to grab it. Meanwhile, I was busy carving out a life I could be proud of. I went to college, landed a steady job, and eventually found Fred, the love of my life. Zoe, however, seemed to float from one thing to the next, never really finding her place. Our relationship as sisters was pretty complicated. We seemed to get along fine on the outside, rarely having any big fights, but there was always this weird tension between us, like we were in some silent competition. Zoe had this talent for making everything revolve around her, which often left me feeling like I was in the background. Whenever I accomplished something, she would either brush it off or find a way to steal the spotlight. Like when I got a promotion at work, she joked about how boring my job was and claimed she would never settle for a desk job. And when I finally bought my first car, she had to critique the color, saying I should have gone for something more stylish. Those little digs were just part of the deal. But even with all that, I still loved her. She was my sister, and no matter how much she got under my skin, I always wanted the best for her. I got engaged to Fred last year. We had been dating for a few years before that, and we were both just so ready to get married. We immediately started planning for a wedding, and I'm not going to lie, I was super excited. Fred and I were both on the same page about what we wanted. A relatively low-key wedding, a nice venue, and close family and friends. We set the date for the end of the summer, and everything was coming together perfectly. Now, here's where things get interesting. As soon as I shared the news about my engagement, Zoe, who had been flying solo, her words, not mine, for ages, suddenly became obsessed with the whole marriage thing. My parents were over the moon for me, but Zoe, well, she had this look in her eyes like she could not stand the idea of me getting all the attention. It all began with little remarks. Zoe would say things like, That dress is nice, but I'm sure you could find something even nicer. Or, it's sweet that you're having a small wedding, but don't you think you might miss out on some big moments? Initially, I brushed it off, thinking she was just concerned about my wedding or just worried about me. But then it started to get a bit out of hand. About a month after my engagement announcement, Zoe randomly started dating this guy named Jeremy, 22, male. Jeremy was sweet, but I did not think much of him. Zoe had gone through a couple of relationships in the past few years and none of them really stuck. But this one seemed different, at least to her. Within 30 days, Zoe had already started talking about marriage. I was a bit surprised, to be honest. I had never heard her talk about settling down so quickly before, but I did not want to make a big deal of it, so I just wished her well. Now here's where Zoe's competitiveness really started to show. A few weeks after I announced my wedding, Zoe pulled a surprising stunt. She told me that she and Jeremy were planning on getting married on the same day as me. I was completely taken aback. I could not wrap my head around it. I had been planning my wedding for ages, and now she was going to overshadow it. I tried to have a conversation with her, but she just waved me off, saying it was her time to shine and that she wanted her wedding to be just as memorable. To me, it felt like she was trying to steal my spotlight and make it all about her. I do not want to sound like a bridezilla, but it was honestly too much. I was upset. But I didn't say anything to our parents. I knew they would take her side. My parents were so happy that Zoe had found someone. They immediately started talking about how beautiful her wedding would be, how perfect the timing was, and how it would be such a wonderful coincidence that they would be celebrating two weddings in the same family on the same day. Fred and I decided that despite Zoe's strange and hurtful behavior, we would go ahead with our plans. We sent out our invites and everything seemed fine until just days before our weddings. On the day of my wedding, I woke up with this weird feeling. It was not cold feet. I was 100% sure about Fred. It was my family I was confused about. Fred and I had planned every detail and I wanted everything to go smoothly. As I got ready with my bridesmaids, I could not help but think about Zoe. Part of me wondered if she would show up at my wedding, even briefly, to be supportive, but deep down I knew better. The ceremony was everything I had hoped for. Fred looked incredible, our vows were heartfelt, and our guests were so happy to celebrate with us. I felt loved, celebrated, and finally in the spotlight. For once, it was not about Zoe, it was about me and Fred. My parents kept traveling between the two venues, so I barely ever saw them there. Later that night at the reception, I caught some guests chatting about Zoe's wedding. It seems like things did not go as she hoped. There were hardly any attendees. A lot of our family and friends opted to attend my wedding instead, which made sense considering how last minute hers was. I heard that Zoe and Jeremy looked pretty upset during the ceremony and the vibe was really awkward. A few days later, I started hearing more details about Zoe's wedding. It turns out her rushed decision to marry Jeremy had caused a lot of issues. They barely knew each other, and the stress of planning a wedding in such a short time had taken a toll on their relationship. Within 2 weeks of getting married, Zoe started posting weird messages on social media about how she was questioning everything and feeling trapped. It was clear that her marriage was falling apart. Then the phone call started. Zoe reached out to me, crying and venting about how everything had gone wrong. She told me that Jeremy was not the man she thought he was, that they had been fighting nonstop, and that she felt like she had made a huge mistake. But instead of taking responsibility for her own choices, she blamed me. According to her, if I had not gotten married on the same day, she would not have felt the need to rush into her own wedding. She said that my selfishness had ruined her life. To make matters worse, my parents took her side. They started calling me and leaving long messages about how I should have been more supportive of Zoe, how I should have understood her insecurities, and how I should have changed my wedding date to avoid conflict. They even suggested that I should apologize to Zoe for not attending her wedding on my wedding day. I could not believe what I was hearing. Let me get the facts straight. I was the first one to get engaged and announce my wedding. I chose the wedding day weeks before Zoe chose to get married on the same day. I decided on the date first. She got married on the date I chose. So, I'm having trouble understanding what they mean when they say I should have changed my wedding date or I should not have gotten married on the same day as her. I feel bad that Zoe is going through such a hard time, but I cannot help but feel like she brought this on herself. I didn't force her to rush into a marriage with someone she barely knew. I did not tell her to plan a wedding on the same day as mine, and I certainly did not make her relationship fall apart. But now I'm being painted as the villain in her story. So AITA for going ahead with my wedding as planned, even though it meant not attending my sister's wedding. Update 1. Hey everyone, it has been a few weeks since I posted and I wanted to update you all on the situation. It has escalated a bit and I am honestly feeling a bit worn out by everything, so here's what happened. As you know, Zoe's wedding turned into a mess and now she's blaming me for everything that went wrong in her life, including her marriage falling apart. Initially, I made an effort to stay calm. I genuinely did. I wanted to rise above it all when Zoe kept blaming me for messing up her life, her wedding, and even her marriage. I kept telling myself that she was just having a tough time and needed someone to let it all out to. But when it kept going on for days with constant texts and missed calls, I reached a breaking point. Zoe just kept calling me selfish for not accommodating her and changing my wedding date. Despite the fact that I had been planning for months, her accusations were starting to drive me completely crazy. She would not take any accountability for her rushed decisions or her own actions. She was not taking responsibility for the fact that she barely knew Jeremy and jumped into marriage out of insecurity just to compete with me. But instead of owning her choices, she kept trying to drag me into her mess. So I decided to block her. I was over it. I was tired of being her emotional punch bag. I thought it would bring me some peace, but it just made everything messier. Joey began contacting me from different numbers, using random accounts to text, and even tried to guilt trip me with some passive-aggressive messages. But I held my ground. I was not going to let her pull my strings anymore. Now, here's the real kicker. Zoe could not blame me anymore, so she started blaming our parents. Zoe has always been good at getting our parents to take her side. And this time it was no different. Once she realized I was not going to change my plans and she started blaming mom and dad for not stopping me from getting married on the same day, she made them feel like they were betraying her, saying they did not support her enough when she needed them. She kept telling them that I was taking all the attention and that they cared more about my wedding than hers. It really seemed to make them feel guilty, and I could tell they were questioning their own decisions. Zoe's blaming made them second-guess everything, and they started to believe it was their fault she was in this mess. The more Zoe pushed, the more our parents seemed to second-guess themselves. They were hesitant to take sides and felt lost about what to do. They wanted to help Zoe feel better, so they started reaching out to me for advice and expressed their confusion. I could see they wanted to support her, but they did not quite grasp that Zoe's issues stemmed from her own decisions. It was frustrating because instead of standing their ground, they were turning to me, asking if I could be more sympathetic towards Zoe. It felt like she had completely worn them down, leaving them caught in the middle, trying to keep things calm while she kept pointing fingers at everyone else for her problems. I didn't sugarcoat things for them. I told them exactly what I had been feeling. I was tired of being the bad guy. I was not going to apologize for getting married or change my wedding date. I was not responsible for Zoe's impulsive decisions, and I was not going to keep letting her guilt trip me. I told them that Zoe needed to take responsibility for her own actions and that I was not going to keep being dragged down by her. They seemed to understand that, but they were still unsure of how to handle it. So, where are we now? Zoe's still blaming me for everything, and now she has turned to blaming our parents too. It's like she cannot take responsibility for anything that has gone wrong in her life. It's sad, but at this point, I'm done. I have blocked her. I'm not apologizing, and I'm not changing anything about my life to suit her needs. If that makes me the villain, then so be it. To be honest, I do not know where things will go with my family from here. I love them, and I want things to be okay, but it is becoming harder to keep playing the mediator between Zoe and the rest of the world. I'm exhausted, and I need to start prioritizing my own peace. Thanks for all your support in the comments. It has been helping me keep my mind straight. I'll keep you all updated if anything changes. Update 2. Hey everyone, it has been about 6 months since my last update, and I thought I would share what's been going on. A lot has happened since then, and I will be honest, I am feeling pretty mixed up about everything. For the most part, things have been quieter with Zoe. After all the drama around my wedding, I thought maybe she was finally starting to move on. It seemed like she was planning on separating and getting a divorce from Jeremy, and I honestly thought things were going to settle down and she was going to calm down. For a while, it felt like I was getting some peace on the family end. Just when I thought things were finally looking up, I found out that I was pregnant about 4 months back. Currently, I'm about 27 weeks pregnant. Honestly, when I first got the test and it came out positive, I could not believe it. I was over the moon. Being a mom has always been my dream, and this pregnancy feels like a dream come true. I immediately shared the news with my parents, and their reaction was everything I hoped for. They were so excited, and it felt like a huge relief after all the stress with Zoe and everything we had been through. It was such a joyful moment that felt really special, and I was so thankful to have something to celebrate without any drama hanging over me. But just a few weeks after I told my parents, something strange happened. Zoe and Jeremy suddenly looked like they were in a much better place in their marriage. They started telling everyone they were working on their marriage, and I was actually happy for them. What really caught me off guard was when my mother told me that Zoe told them they were trying to have a baby. Zoe, who had always been so clear about not wanting kids, seemed to have completely flipped her opinion. She was posting on social media about how excited she was to start this new chapter of her life and how they were ready to have a family. It was all a little too perfect, and I could not shake the feeling that there was something off about it. But I tried to convince myself that people and their opinions change all the time. Then, 2 weeks ago, Zoe called me, but it was not even her calling directly. It was Jeremy's phone, and she was on the other end. At first, I was taken aback because we had not talked much recently. But Zoe sounded so happy, and she told me the news. She was pregnant. I will not lie, I felt a little overwhelmed. I had been so focused on my own pregnancy that hearing hers felt surreal. She was over the moon about it, and for a moment, I was genuinely happy for her. It seemed like she was finally getting something she wanted, and I wanted to believe that it was real, that Zoe was genuinely excited about becoming a mom. So just when I thought things could not get any weirder, Zoe dropped a comment at the end of our chat that really stuck with me. She said, "Looks like the spotlight will not just be on you anymore." It was such a weird thing to say. I wasn't quite sure how to interpret it. On one hand, it seemed like she was just pointing out that we were both pregnant at the same time. But on the other hand, it felt a bit like a dig. Like she was trying to say she's now in the limelight too, almost like it was some kind of competition. Zoe has this knack for turning everything into a race for attention, and this felt like just another round in her ongoing game. I totally want Zoe to be happy, and I am genuinely happy for her. But something about this whole situation feels a bit off. She's always been clear about not wanting kids and how she wasn't ready for that kind of commitment. So now that she is suddenly pregnant and super excited, it just does not make sense. It feels like she's trying to compete with me for attention. I cannot help but notice the pattern, like how she made my wedding all about her and cornered me with her accusations. It seems like this is just another chapter in that same story. I really want to believe she is thrilled about becoming a mom, but with everything that has gone down, I cannot shake the feeling that she's using this pregnancy to insert herself into my life and grab the spotlight, even if it means mimicking my journey. Fred, my fiance, is just as cautious as I am. He has been super supportive through everything, but he also thinks Zoe is up to something. He believes this whole situation is just another attempt for her to steal the spotlight from me, especially since things changed so fast for her and Jeremy. Fred's been telling me I should not let Zoe drag me back into her drama, that I should focus on my own happiness and not get caught up in whatever game she's playing. But part of me feels guilty. I do not want to be the person who shuts Zoe out, especially now that she is pregnant. I want to think that she has really changed and that her excitement is genuine, but I also know my own boundaries and I cannot keep letting her walk all over me or make me feel like I have to compete for happiness. At this point, I'm really torn. I want to enjoy my pregnancy. I want to be happy for Zoe, but I am not sure if I can handle having her back in my life, especially if this is all part of another attempt to compete with me. I have been trying to convince myself that maybe she's just genuinely excited, but Fred keeps reminding me of the pattern. Zoe's done this before, and I do not want to let her mess with my peace again. I don't know if I can handle staying in contact with her, especially if this is just another stunt to get attention. So I'm reaching out to you all again for advice. What do you think? Am I overthinking this? Update 3. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update. Things have taken another weird turn. Last week, I had my baby shower. It was such a special day for me, and I was surrounded by my closest friends and family, all there to celebrate the little one on the way. Of course, Zoe was invited, as awkward as it may be, and I tried to keep things cordial for the sake of family, but as soon as she arrived, I could tell something was off. She was not participating in the conversations or engaging with anyone. Instead, she just hung out in the corner, pulling faces the entire time. It was honestly pretty awkward to see, and I tried to brush it off, but it was tough to miss. She seemed really out of her element, and I could not shake the feeling that there was more going on. After everyone had cleared out and the party was starting to wrap up, I just could not hold back any longer. I approached her and asked what was bothering her. Initially, she gave me a pretty unclear answer, but eventually she confessed that she had expected my baby shower to be a joint celebration. She thought it would be a combined event for both of us. I was totally caught off guard by this, so I asked her where she got that idea from. She responded in the most passive-aggressive way by saying that it was a given and that I humiliated her by calling her and not including her in the celebration. At that point, I lost my patience and told her to leave. I just could not deal with her drama anymore. The whole situation felt so tiring, and I honestly did not have the energy for it. Since that moment, Zoe has been telling everyone that I lied to her and made a fool of her. She has been spreading this story to the family, telling anyone who will listen that I somehow tricked her into thinking we were having a joint shower. But here's the thing, no one's buying it. Everyone who knows us, and especially those who were at the shower, can see right through her. They know she's trying to stir up trouble and make me look bad. It is frustrating, though, because I cannot help but feel like I'm stuck in a never-ending cycle with her. She's always playing the victim, but no one is falling for it this time. I'm really starting to feel exhausted by all this. I have tried to be patient, I've tried to stay calm, but Zoe just does not stop. I feel like no matter what I do, she's always going to be looking for ways to make me feel bad or make me the villain. I'm really trying to enjoy my pregnancy and get excited about my baby coming, but Zoe keeps dragging me into her drama. Honestly, I'm not sure how much more I can handle. I am at a place where I feel like I might need to cut her out of my life for good, but part of me does not want to make that call. It feels so final, and I do not know if I can live with that, but I am also not sure how much longer I can keep pretending like nothing's wrong. So once again, I'm turning to you all for advice. I just want to move forward with my life and enjoy my pregnancy, but it feels like Zoe is always there trying to drag me back into her drama. I really do not know what to do at this point, and I'm not sure where to go from here. Update 4. Hey everyone, I'm back with another update, and I have some big news to share. I had my baby girl a month ago, and I can honestly say she's an absolute angel. She's so calm and quiet, only crying when she's hungry or needs a diaper change. I cannot believe how easy it's been with her. Things are not as hectic or hard as I imagined they would be, and a lot of that is because we have a lot of help around here. Now, onto the Zoe drama update. A few weeks after I had my baby, I found out something that totally blew my mind. Apparently, the day I gave birth, Zoe, despite being nowhere near ready to give birth herself, showed up at the hospital demanding an emergency C-section. The hospital staff sent her home because, as you can imagine, her demand was completely unreasonable. She was not even in labor, and it was just another ridiculous stunt. But that was not the end of it. Later, she called our parents, crying, blaming them for everything that went wrong. She told them that she was jealous of the attention me and my baby were getting and made a ridiculous accusation that I gave birth early on purpose to steal her spotlight. She even said that I had intentionally planned it all so that I would get more attention than her, which is completely absurd. My parents were completely caught off guard by this. They could not wrap their heads around what she was saying and ended up calling her out for being so out of line. I was honestly surprised they stood their ground instead of just backing her up like usual. But of course, Zoe did not let it go. She kept pushing them, trying to make them feel guilty for not supporting her in what she thought was her moment. As hurtful and frustrating as her actions were, I was not surprised. It's like she's always looking for a way to be the center of attention. And I guess the fact that I gave birth was just another opportunity for her to make everything about herself. She even went as far as saying that I stole her spotlight, which is honestly ridiculous when you think about it. Zoe also told them that things between her and Jeremy are not good at all. She was really upset, saying that she and Jeremy were struggling to keep it together, and that their relationship was in a rough spot. Instead of owning up to her part in the issues, she seemed more focused on feeling neglected and overshadowed. It felt like she was using her jealousy over my baby and the attention I was getting to avoid dealing with the real problems in her marriage. It was pretty obvious that her situation with Jeremy was anything but stable right now. When I found out about this, I just could not keep it to myself any longer. I called her up right away and told her straight up to never come near me or my family again. I made it crystal clear that if she ever tried to enter my life again, I would take serious measures because I was done dealing with her drama. After that chat, I also had a talk with my parents and told them I wanted nothing to do with Zoe from now on. I laid it all out, how her behavior had turned toxic, how she was always trying to make everything revolve around her. I was so relieved when my parents got it. They understood how irrational Zoe had been and totally backed my choice. It felt like a huge burden had been lifted. I had been tiptoeing around Zoe for ages, trying to keep things calm and avoid any drama. Talking to my parents was not a walk in the park, but it was something I had to do. They did not question my choice at all. And for the first time, I felt like they were really in my corner. At this stage, I'm not sure if Zoe will ever understand how her behavior has affected me, but that is no longer my problem. I have set my boundaries and I'm sticking to them. I cannot keep letting her walk all over me or manipulate situations to make herself the victim. I genuinely think I am dumb for even letting her be a part of my life after the whole wedding drama. But I am done with her, and she's out of my life for good. Thanks again for all your support. It has been a huge help. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.